Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. I'm gonna be completely honest. This whole Maxi baby switch story with Brooklyn, it, in some ways, either these writers are a genius or there's just something fundamentally broken about this whole thing. I don't know what it is, what it was supposed to be. To be honest, I don't know if it has something to do with the fact that, Wes Ramsey or Peter, isn't on the show anymore. I don't know if he was planning on leaving, they were planning on leaving. I mean, this was a planned exit, or was just something that was just abrupt. Now I know, with Kristen Storm, you have the whole brain surgery and stuff like that, and I think they're reporting like today she was going to be taking out the stitches and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly what it is about this story that just feels so off. Or maybe I'm just, the writers are just so smart that, they're just keeping me guessing. But I feel like a lot of scenes with Maxi, like yesterday with Maxi and Bobby, was just pointless. Just entirely pointless. And there's been a lot of scenes with Maxi where it's just been like, what are we doing? We're not cluing in the people that we should be cluing in. You're not cluing in Spinelli, which, he worked for Jason. I'm pretty sure he knows how to keep his mouth shut. You're not cluing in Britt, which she was going to help with the delivery. You're not cluing in Bobby. Like, what are we doing at this point? And so, today, she's with Nina. And, Nina wants to sit there and check on her. And so, just trying to comfort her, making her feel better. Somewhere along the line, we get to the point where Nina is covering her ass. She looks at the phone and she's like, oh, who's Mike? And, she's like, oh, it's, just some guy, and no one important or whatever. So Maxie starts asking more questions. She gives a little bit of answers. At some point, when Nina starts talking about seeing Brooklyn and the baby, this when Maxie's like, oh, so tell me about what's going on. Like, is she healthy? Is she good? Like, what's going on with that? Now Nina's like, you sure you want to have this conversation? Because, your whole baby missing and everything like that. What? You good? But, Max is like, I want to know, how she's doing, Like, I understand that it's just, me and Brooklyn, become close and stuff. So she tells her. And, the way Maxie kind of just shuts down the conversation, Nina's like, maybe you're just tired. And so she leaves, and Maxie's like, I can't do this anymore. I need to see my child. And so this is the first part where it's like, Maxie, I feel like she's starting to break down in her story as far as trying to keep a brave face and all this other stuff like that. And we get to Sam and Dante. They're both at, I guess, the cabin. And, Austin comes in. So now they're sitting up there questioning Austin, like, oh, what was you doing? Like, this is your place. Funny because, Maxie was here and she was held captive by that crazy nut job and you just happened to be here. And you also happen to be in the woods. Just out of the blue. What's going on with that? So they get suspicious of him. And they find a video camera. Like, well, what's that about? I'm just sitting there thinking, like, well, why does it matter if he has a video camera in his house or not? What does that prove? What does that prove if he had a video camera in his house or not? Now, granted, he was like, I didn't touch that. That wasn't me. You're not going to find any fingerprints on it. And I'm just like, well, what does it matter if they do find fingerprints on it? Like, that doesn't prove anything. So they go through the video, whatever. They go through the video, and they realize that, he didn't, he didn't know anything about the footage. And a lot of the questions that they were asking him was, he had an explanation for it. He had an explanation for why he was in the woods. And they really didn't have anything on him as far as like, oh, well, you planted me, Maxie, and you were in cahoots with her. It was like, and I guess him being unconscious, you know, him having a concussion, that was part of the plan too. Like, come on, you guys don't really have anything, and you're fishing. You are literally just grasping at straws here. But after looking through the footage, you know, Sam is like, I don't know what to believe, and Dante's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Maxie lied to us. So this whole, you know, now they're gonna get back to Maxie, and she's gonna get super defensive, and this whole story, I feel like it's broken and just ways that I can't explain, but I feel like it's broken. Now let's talk about Carly, Jason, and Britt for a minute. Because when I was watching this back in the day, certain things would just go over my head, or certain things just wouldn't bother me as much. Like, like Carly, and the fact that, you know, she's always like, pretty much in a lot of ways, pushing away, you know, or trying to push away whatever love interest that Jason is involved with. Either it be Courtney, it be Robin, it be Liz, it be Sam. You know, she's always been doing that. Just like pushing them away or being like, oh, well, I come first and y'all are second and stuff like that. And it went over my head when I was younger watching this. And looking at it now, it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, I get that y'all are friends, but like, bro, you gotta have some boundaries. Like, you need to set some boundaries. Like, you can't just be having to just be rolling up. Like, I remember the scene when Jason finally stood up, which I was like, bro, are you kidding me? And this is when Carly barged in Jason's house, literally in his apartment. It was like, Sam, go in your room or whatever. Like, I need to talk to Jason. And Sam was just like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, she didn't want to sit there and argue with her. So she just left. She was about to leave. And Jason was like, no. Like, whatever it is, it can wait. Like, my wife is here. You can wait. And Carly got so angry. And I never really fully grasped the magnitude of it when I was that age. Now looking at it now, I was like, wow, Carly, you are... I mean, possessive is... Yeah, but I just don't understand how he lets you get away with that. That's... I was going to sit there and say that's something fundamentally broken within him. But then, you know, it goes back to the whole, you know, Jason's life is practically Carly and Sonny's first, and anything that he does afterwards is an afterthought. Which is actually pretty sad. But, looking at this scene today, when Britt walks in and she's talking to, you know, Jason, and the looks that she's giving, and it's like Carly just has that weird vibe. Like, she doesn't like it. She doesn't like the fact that she's not, you know, the center of Jason's attention. And it's so weird. And as much as I like Carly, I'm like, yo, girl, the sad thing is that I can't even sit there and say that this is because Sonny's gone, because even when Sonny and Jax were still in her life, she would still do that with Jason. So, I don't remember how the scene goes, but at some point throughout this whole Metro Cross scene, Jason is sitting there talking to Britt. And they're talking for a little bit, you know, about the cabin and stuff like that, and, you know, Britt makes a joke about calling him Stone Cold and stuff, Stone Cold, and that's when Nick walks over and he pretty much acts like a dick, and Jason pretty much puts him in his place, and I'm just like, Nick, you might want to just kind of just calm it down a little bit, okay, because I know that y'all, you know, are close because of Emily and stuff like that, but Jason, you know, depending on his mood, he may not actually play with you with kid gloves, so just fair warning. But, you know, Nick wants to know, because, you know, they're going over the possibilities of who, you know, is possibly targeting them, and, you know, they come up with the conclusion that maybe it's one of their exes. Now, I don't understand, and granted, I wasn't there for the whole Brit and Nicholas thing, but at one point, they bring up Liz, and then they bring up Brit, and I'm like, so I guess we're just gonna act like Gia just never existed. I mean, I know when I was just first starting, but I know that she was a thing, and Nicola's life, but I don't know how petty and vindictive she was. So anyway, Nick, looks at Britt, and that's when he goes over there. He's like, I want to talk to her. So they talk for a little bit, and Nick pretty much just kind of interrogates her, like, are you playing games? Like, what's going on with you? Like, you were at one of my holdings, one of my places or whatever. Like, what kind of games are you playing? Like, what are you up to? And Britt is like, I don't think about you. Like, you're not a factor when I wake up and go to sleep. Like, I don't know why you think that you're in my head, but you're not. So I'm gonna go, and you do whatever it is that you normally do. And I think at this point, maybe Nicholas kind of believes that, like, she had nothing to do with the whole stalking and everything like that. Now, at one point, there was a shady waiter that did take Ava's purse when they walked to go get a table, and he comes back with it. I think maybe afterwards, after Nick finished talking to Ava. Which, by the way, I love how Ava was sitting there coming at Jason like, oh, I see you sitting there trying to be all tough guy with my man. I was like, sweetheart, did you not see the dynamic that just happened when Nick came at Jason first? I mean, you should be lucky that Nicholas is still standing. Maybe you should think about that. Just a thought. Now, at some point, when Nicholas and Ava leaves, you have the shady waitress, and that they call on somebody, and that they're saying that, well, I got so-and-so, her purse or whatever, we're moving on to the next plan. So whatever it is, it seems like it's really starting to come together and start to intensify. Now, this has been going on for quite a while. I would actually sit there and say maybe even a couple of months. But I feel like it's probably going to finally get somewhere, which would be great. Now, a lot of people sitting there thinking is Spencer. And so if it is, maybe he'll come back. Maybe the actual actor will come back, or they'll replace him with somebody else. I don't know. It's so funny, too, because every time, when I sit there, like, watch it back in the day before I started doing YouTube and stuff, I would go on Facebook, which the comment section sometimes is just, it could be so toxic. And to be fair, I was not exactly helping in that matter. But the point is, people used to love that actor, that played like young Spencer. Like, oh, I love him, he's so great, this, that, and the third. And I was just like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of can't stand all you people right now. I'm really not a fan of him. I was never a fan of the actor. I didn't think he did a bad job. I don't know. There was times where, actually, tell you the truth, I take that back. Because at the end of the day, it was just the actor doing his job. I never liked the character. I should sit there and say. The actor was just whatever. I think the problem with that whole story is the fact that they just... Well, let's be honest. I know that they aged the kids in this very, whatever way that works for the plot. And the fact that Jocelyn kept saying my younger cousin, it's just so bad. I'm 100% sure, and I know this for a fact, I don't even know why I'm going to guess myself, but I know that Spencer was born before Jocelyn. So the fact that every time she used to sit there and say my younger cousin, it would just irritate the living life out of me. But with that being said, I wasn't a fan of his younger character, and I hope that if they do bring him back, he's less annoying. But seeing how sometimes I just don't get what I want, I guess we'll just see what happens. Now, at some point, Jason walks back up to Britt, and they have a little conversation about, did what Nicholas said bother her and stuff like that. Because, she's not there trying to live in the moment, like what Jason said, and just kind of just doing it day by day. They start talking, and, she looks like she's still upset, so Jason grabs her hand, and Carly just has this look like, I don't know if it's not like a look of disgust, but it's more like a, how dare you, like, how dare you, kind of attitude. And I'm just like, Carly, you're focusing on the wrong thing. I mean, in the beginning, at one point, Jason was looking at his phone. He was like, "Oh, it's about business," and Carly was like, "So, like, what is it about, though?" Second, I had a bird on my window, like, just hanging out. It was so weird. Actually, made me lose my train of thought for a minute. What the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah, yeah. So she wanted to know what the business is about, and Jason was like, "No, it's business. The less the less you know, the better. Like, I'm back now, and it's, I'm kind of in charge, so you can kind of stop asking those questions that you're not supposed to ask. And Carly, and throughout the episode, Nicholas made a comment about, because Jason was like, "Listen, stay out of my business," and Nicholas was like, "Your business or Carly's business? Like, which one is which?" Because Jason did not like the fact that, like an idiot, Nicholas got, made the situation a lot worse. And like a dumbass, Nicholas was like, "Oh, well, I'm not going to sit there and be sorry for protecting my wife." Jason was like, "Yo, you got caught. You're an idiot." Like, he knows you're an idiot. The majority of the fans know that you're an idiot. I don't really understand why he doesn't understand that. Or why Ava doesn't understand that, but whatever. But yeah, so he makes a comment about that. Ava makes a comment about that, like, so, I'm not in the business anymore, but, which, by the way, maybe she should probably rethink about that whole not being in the business part. Just saying. But yeah, she's like, like, who's in charge? Carly, I don't know how she's going to sit there and approach this conversation about how she still wants to be in charge. But it's pretty clear that she wants to be in charge. And I think Jason needs to just kind of just drop the hammer and be like, "Hey, listen, I'm in charge now. Now, the whole legal BS, whatever, that's behind us, and we're good to go. And you need to stop asking questions." So that conversation is going to be very interesting. And by the way, what was up with the beginning of this episode? Like, at first you didn't know, like, somebody was getting dressed. You didn't know who it was. You just saw him in this person in black. And it's like, well, who is it? I mean, I know Jason wears black, but I mean, other characters are allowed to wear his color. So who is it? The minute that you saw somebody put the gun, and that type of gun, be in behind his back or whatever, it was like, okay, alright, it's Jason, okay. And he, he gets ready or whatever, and he leaves. And I'm just like, yo, we get it, Jason's a badass. Was there really a point of this montage, or like, what? I just felt that to be so off-putting, because they don't normally do that, and I was just like, what? Like, what is this about? Now, Ned is talking to Olivia, and, Olivia's like, you can stay here tonight. They seem like they're kind of working their way towards, trying to get back on track with the marriage. At some point, Valentine is there talking to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's like, Jason's not doing too well, because, she's sad and stuff like that. And, I think Valentine leaves to go and do something. And, Ned is there talking to Brooklyn, and, because he already looks at her face and knows about Chase and stuff like that. So they're talking about Chase, and, just that they're trying to comfort her. And it's a nice little moment. But then at some point, it just went from that to talking about ELQ. And I'm just like, how do we jump from, her friend is pretty much about to die, he's on his deathbed, to, oh, okay, cool, so we got control of ALQ, we just gotta sit there and vote Valentine out. Like, what? Did I miss something? And, I felt like that was just so off-putting. And the fact that usually Olivia actually says something about that, like she's, like, yo, listen, it's about family tie, come from your daughter, not about ELQ. Like, what? What? But she didn't say anything. She didn't say anything. And then when Valentine walked in, they go at it for a little bit. And of course, Olivia backs up Valentine. And I'm just like, listen, I get being supportive of your husband and everything like that, but, one, do you really feel like it's the time now to sit there and start talking about shares and votes and stuff like that? Like, really? While your daughter is in pain, this is the best time to talk? Are you kidding me? But then she backs him, Valentine leaves for a little bit, and, Olivia's like, oh, one minute he's a doting father, the next minute he's this, that, and the third, and I'm just like, Olivia, sometimes I just don't know with you. I really do not know with you at this point. I mean, her character has stand the test of time at this point. I remember when she first got to Port Charles. She also did an interview, like, as Lisa, whatever her name is, with Maurice Bernard. I'm gonna check that out. It sounded like it was going to be interesting, so definitely check it out if you're interested. But, sometimes I just don't really understand what Olivia's role is anymore. Like, I really don't. I'm still seeing her as that character that came to Port Charles, was talking to her sister, Connie, and being there for Dante, and somewhere along the line, she's still here, and sometimes I wonder, like, not why, but, like, what is your role again? Because I'm just, I don't know. Now, at some point, Michael does come into the room. I think they may do like a press conference or something like that. I'm not too sure what they did, but it was on everyone's phones. And it was on Austin's phone too, which I found kind of odd. Like, he was looking at it, so I don't know what is that about. Anyway, I guess we'll talk about Michael and Willow because, well, listen, I don't know how the majority of the here's my whole thing about this whole, Mike and Willow and whatever. And I know somebody else asked me a question about, Liz and Finn. And to be honest, here's the thing. When it comes to that type of stuff, to be honest, I probably would sit there and say go to Brock TV for that. I've never been one for shipping people or who goes, who looks good with who, or who works, or who is a cute couple, whatever. That's just not really, like, my thing. I look at the whole Finn and Liz thing, and, I mean, listen, it seems like they're going to probably go with it, but this whole thing is like, alright, so I guess we're just going to forget about Hayden, right? We're just going to forget about that. We're just going to pretend that Hayden's still gone, she's on the run, or captured, or something, or whatever. We're just going to pretend that whole storyline doesn't exist. And yeah, I understand that somebody was like, it's a little bit too soon for Liz, but, at this point, the one thing that I've noticed about, like, GH is that GH will do things that, even if people don't like it, they'll still do it. I mean, they'll eventually stop after a while, but they'll still run its course for as long as they want to at times. There was one Carly on the show that I think that no one liked. Okay, this was after Tamara Bay. Or Tamara, the woman that plays Ava on Days. They had somebody else come in, and let's just sit there and say that people did not like her at all. And she was on there for quite a while, and I just remember every day people just not liking her. They did eventually get rid of her, and I think that's when they got in Laura Wright. But, yeah. Sometimes they do listen. And then other times they just kind of do whatever they want. Um, I look at, for me, and I'm pretty sure I cannot have been the only person that just noticed how they just didn't care and they just kept doing it. This is when they had the woman that played Lulu, Emily. You know, she was pregnant in real life, but in the show, you know, we all know that she can't get pregnant because of X, Y, Z, or whatever. Now, after a while, they just stopped with the whole camera tricks and stuff like that. And it was one of those things where it's like, alright, so we're just going to sit there and pretend that this chick isn't, like, I don't know, 8 months pregnant? Like, we're just going to all just sit there and just look at this whole scene and just be like, alright, cool. Yeah, I'm just going to pretend that that whole belly thing is just not there. And a lot of people are saying that the writers are just like, they're going to let her film into practically up until her due date. Like, they're just going to keep doing it. And for me, it took me out of the fantasy of the show. But for the showrunners and the people that were in charge, they were just like, we're just going to keep doing this. Because why not? So I look at this whole Michael and Willow thing, and I was kind of like, where am I going with the story? I'm looking at this whole Michael and Willow thing, and I know a lot of people don't like those two together. I don't personally care, but watching these jury-ass scenes is just like... And Willow tells Michael that, you know, I have to marry Chase because Chase is dying and I have to sit there and do this for him. And Michael's upset at first, but then he listens to Willow and he realizes that, yep, you got to do it. It sucks, but you got to do it. And so they kind of agree to, you know, keep their distance. You know, when she sees Wiley, you know, he can't really be near her. And they say that they love each other. And I'm just like, yep, we're still doing this. Still doing this because, you know what, at this point I just don't care. I just don't care. Here's the thing, it's hard for me to get invested in a storyline like this where one, this whole Chase dying thing has been going on for far too long. Them lying to Chase at this point is just, you know what, power for the core. And this whole thing just happened because Chase got ill, so they're not going to feel like scumbags, so they're going to sit there and lie. And it's at a point where it's like, you know what, they might as well continue to lie. What's the point of telling the truth now? You know, at one point, Michael was like, is it even right to sit there and lie about marriage and being sacred? And I was like, bro, let's not even go there. But again, they both agreed to keep up the lie, keep up the charade, and, you know, be apart. Because, you know what, at this point, I look at this thing and I'm just like, I don't care if they're apart or together. I just need this to just be, like, done one way or the other. Then, hopefully you find a cure. If you don't, then that's going to really suck that Chase is going to be killed off. And, you know, whatever. But I guess it's fine because we got Austin, we got Roger back in this way that I don't agree with, but whatever. You know, I'm sitting there thinking, you know, maybe I should actually have wine tonight. I did miss something. Jesus Christ, I did miss something. Oh, Sonny and Phyllis, because, well, that's still a thing because Murray said so, and, you know, heaven forbid that, I was about to sit there and say, heaven forbid that they actually say no to him, but to be honest, I love Sonny, and he's put in his work, so I guess he gets a storyline. But let's be honest, this story has went on far, far, far too long. If I think about the date that it starts and now, I'm just going to be like, are you kidding me? Anyway, long story short, Phyllis sits there and tells Mike to pursue Nina. And, you know, she considers him family. And, you know, Sonny's like, oh, well, that's cool because I don't really remember my own family. Or some line that he said. And then he hug. And I'm just like, yep, that's a great scene. Because a man who doesn't remember his past seems like he doesn't give a damn about remembering his past, his kids, if he has kids. I'm assuming he has kids. Because, well, he had a wife. But he doesn't seem like he cares about that. And Phyllis. Because, well, I guess she needs free help. And, well, she also doesn't care about the fact that he was married. Because she just seems more interested in pushing Nina and Sonny together. Because I don't even really understand why. At this point. And I've said this to a point where I'm just like, I'm just repeating myself. So that's why I sound like I just don't care, because I feel like the writers just don't care to some extent. They do, but they care more about what Maurice wants than, I don't know, common sense to some extent. So yeah, she pretty much she thanks him, and then she tells him to go out to Nina, and Phyllis even offers to have Sonny use the car to go down there. So I guess, you know what, I was going to sit there and say I was going to be really excited because Sonny's going to go down to Port Charles, and at some point Nina's going to sit there and start scrambling, and I'm going to sit there and have my cake, and everyone's going to have cake with me. But you know they're not going to sit there and do that. They're going to sit there and tease us. I was trying not to be crude about it. They're going to sit there and tease us, and they're not going to give us what we want right away, and I feel like we'll probably get something maybe in November. If Maurice Benard decides to say, hey, okay, I had my fun, can we, I guess you can kind of get back to being Sonny again. Damn, I talk too much. I felt like I did more talking than, doing review. And I want to apologize for that, but I can't because that's literally how I felt. So if you actually made it through 31 minutes and something seconds, I do thank you, because I did not think that this was going to go that long. I really didn't. I just started talking, and then I clearly didn't shut up. So, anyway, if you made it up to this point, I want to thank you. If you didn't make up to this point, I want to thank you for making it past the 20-minute mark. Either way, I thank you all the same. With that being said, I'm going to go. Thank you for watching. Be safe. See you in the next video.